Hey everybody, welcome to another Age of Grogu, and I got with me Jason and Max. Hey guys, how's it going?
What
Eh,
up?
Hey, so another week, another Sunday. How's your week been, guys? What's been going on?
Nothing. Worked on some work this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nothing much in the way of Jason there.
I've been obsessed with making my own Caesar salad dressing.
Okay,
How's it
all right.
coming? Use anchovies with in the
Oh
dressing.
hell yeah, dude! You got to grind it down to a paste. Same with the
Fair enough.
garlic. The first batch I did had too much garlic, so I'm gonna try it again today.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I
Okay.
didn't want to waste it, so I
Hey
used it
there,
for the rest
Kobe.
of the
How's it
week.
going?
Kobe. And so I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it another try tonight
Hell
Cool.
and
yeah.
have a side of Caesar salad with our pasta.
Very cool. And you're still dropping your daily drawings, Jason?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to do it all year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. There's some consistency on something,
Yeah. That's cool.
creative consistency.
That's cool. I ended up going to see Knock at the Cabin. Was it Cabin of Knock
I
at
think
the
it's Knock at the Cabin Door. It's a
Knock at
long
the Cabin
title.
Door, whichever. Yeah. Um, yeah. I saw it last night with some friends. It was okay. I mean, it's the M Night Shyamalan film without the twist. If that's the twist,
Yeah.
if that's the twist. Sorry, spoilers there, guys. There's no twist. Yeah, it was
I liked
okay.
it. I liked it. I thought
Yeah.
Batista carried the film. I wish we had
hmm
more Ron Weasley. It was, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
what?
was
Ron
very
Weasley's in
short.
it?
Did you
Yeah,
notice
yeah.
his accent completely
Rupert.
shifted after the first like 3 minutes of him being in the film? When he first
I
started
didn't catch
speaking,
that. Oh,
he has
really?
like a strong Texas accent,
Yeah.
and then when they establish him as from Medford, Massachusetts,
Right.
then he's all talking like he's from Boston.
Right.
Was he fronting or
Oh,
something?
really?
What's going on?
No, they just. I
Or
think.
was it
I
character
think.
development?
I think they. I think he probably didn't realize he was from Medford originally, and then, or he
Okay.
didn't know where Medford was.
Right.
Like he's from England. He's not going to
Yeah.
know Medford,
Fair.
Medford,
Massachusetts.
Fair
Like
enough.
Texas. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds like a Texas city.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, yeah. I mean, Batista was fantastic. I mean,
yeah, he was the highlight of the film.
he's continuing to impress me on all the roles that he's done. I mean, I loved him in Knives Out. I loved him as Drax, and he's growing as an actor, which is kind of fun to see. Someone who's
Hey,
from
he's always been an
the
actor,
sports
dude.
stuff.
Coming from wrestling,
Well,
that's a
coming from
lot of
wrestling, but
acting you got to do.
oh,
I
for
mean, yeah,
sure, yeah,
he's just showing
yeah,
his range now, though. He's really
yes,
playing
yeah,
like
that's it.
this role was. It was seemingly be the same type of role if done differently, but it was very nuanced by him, and he played it like a. It was a very fresh role for him.
hmm
That's good stuff. I
Yeah.
think he's a better actor than The Rock, huh?
Oh, better than The Rock. He's better
Oh
than
yeah,
John Cena, though John Cena has better comedic timing.
right.
I think
Oh
Batista
yeah.
is the best actor turned or wrestler turned
Yeah,
actor.
He's probably gonna
yeah.
be the first to win an Oscar out of all those guys, probably.
I
I
don't know.
think so.
I don't think any of them are going to do that,
No, but I'm just
No,
saying,
I think
but
out of
but
all
anybody
of
he is
them,
could.
improving. He's getting
he's
really good.
got
Yeah,
the out of
yeah,
all of the
yeah,
wrestler actors, he's got
yeah,
the most potential for that.
yeah. I mean, he's taking
Just
versatile,
wait till
different
Edge comes
roles.
out with his
Edge. What's
movie.
That
Oh, really?
Edge, he's a '90s wrestler.
Oh,
oh,
really? That's cool.
nice. Oh
Yeah.
shit, I
End of
remember
the
hearing
day,
about
I
that.
mean, it is what it is. It is what it says it is. Is what the
It's a
trailers
knock
say
at the
it is.
cabin. It's
It's
a
a
knock
knock
on the
at the.
door.
It's a knock on the door. Um, Again, there was nothing bad about it. I think it had the least amount of M Night Shyamalan opening weekends for what it made over the opening weekend. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, he's known for his twists. This story was based off of an existing story before it, so there was, obviously no room or need for a twist in that particular case. And again, it is what it is. I'm not a horror fan. It's not a horror, but it's like
Yeah, it's not scary.
psychological. Yeah, it's not scary, but it's psychological kind of.
Is it thrilling and psychological?
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
it's.
Psychological thriller?
It's
it's definitely a psychological thriller where it's trying to
yeah,
really get you on the edge of your seat the whole movie. And
yeah. I found myself asking the questions like 2 minutes before the characters asked the same question. I was always asking a question, well, if this is the reason is this, then why is this not? And then suddenly, about a minute or two later,
yeah,
the actor would actually say the exact same question. So it was intelligent enough to say the questions I was wanting to ask if I was in a situation like these characters were.
That's kind of nice. I like that.
Yeah,
It
it was very
relieves any type of
self-contained.
frustrations that you'd have
Right,
with the story,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say it was his most self-contained movie, where it was definitely one of his least open-ended movies, where it answers basically all your questions you needs answered.
Right. Yeah.
Even like little stuff where someone brings up and like, oh, they're lying, and then later in the movie it'll tell you whether they're lying or telling the truth. And
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I'd say it's definitely one of his strongest movies in terms of just completion. In terms of one whole watch will make you understand everything. You don't need to go back and watch it twice and be like, oh, did I miss a twist? Did I understand that? No, you got everything in one go.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Like things shouldn't require a second watch.
Yeah.
You know, the second watch should only allow you to see bonuses.
You want to enjoy it. You want to enjoy
stuff. You know, like it should add to your previous.
Yeah. It shouldn't have to explain it. That's my problem with recent Nolan movies, like Tenet.
Oh my God, Tenet. He was banking on that idea that people will keep going back to watch it just to understand it.
Right.
And that's what makes it garbage.
Messed up. Yeah. That's he messed up there. That shouldn't be the case, you know.
But the twist at the end is also super predictable in Tenet, like because he's showing you the twist throughout the whole movie, dangling it in front of you, like you're not understanding what he's doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think he thought the audience was stupider than we are. But
it was like to get like money, you know. It's like, oh, you know what? Multiple watches. Let's make sure people go back because you're gonna need to, because first time around you're not gonna understand anything.
Yeah. Literally. Even at one point it says in Tenet, don't try and understand it. It doesn't make sense. I laughed because I was like, because even you don't understand your own rules.
But like Sixth Sense, for instance, like that movie, you get more from rewatches. But after the first watch, you're not confused at all.
Yeah.
But when you rewatch it again and you know everything that's going to happen, you start to understand certain things and you see patterns. And that's kind of a bonus from that.
Yeah,
it's
that's a
good
way of recontextualizing a movie.
Yeah.
You guys caught up with The Last of Us last week's episode? There's a new episode tonight, episode 4. But it's continuing to be entertaining, and it still hasn't quite fully pulled me in overall. I just need a bit more time with the characters, with the main characters, to know.
Yeah, this was a weird episode with kind of an aside with Bill and Frank. It's not anything from the game. It's actually an original story that they came up with.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to ask that because I've never played.
Yeah, it was very well done, but it was a hard sidetrack from the plot of the show.
I didn't mind it as a sidetrack. I just felt it was in the wrong place of the season.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. It was too early.
I felt like that. You know, to find, for me, I always like it. You know, even Walking Dead kind of did this. It was like to get through a series of dramas and losses before you can find beauty in the world. And this was trying to find beauty in the world in episode 3. And it was like, okay, they're doing it differently. There was nothing wrong with it. But I just kind of like the idea that I can be pulled down a little further in life and history and then be lifted up at a later point in time. So I don't think we're going to get that many lifting moments in this series.
Yeah, I think they wanted a moment of, lightness before the rest of the bleak Last of Us thing. I think, in the game, it's very different. In the game, you only ever meet Bill.
Right.
And he's living alone, paranoid, and basically rigged a whole town with explosives and making sure everyone stays out of it. Right. And he helps you. He takes you through his town. You fight a bunch of zombies with him. But the heart of the story, it's like a small beat, is in the game, Frank is dead. You go into a house and it's a dead body who's hung himself. And Joel says, "Oh, he's been bit." And Bill walks up to him and says, "It's Frank. Only a dumb son of a bitch to wear that shirt," or something like that. And it's like a small, touching, real moment of the zombie apocalypse. And you find Frank's note explaining that he left because he couldn't take life with Bill anymore. That Bill was too paranoid, and he wouldn't let him have a life outside because they loved each other too much.
Oh, man, it's a lot darker, huh?
It's a lot darker and a lot more real. I really wish we got to see that side of the story play out. I wish it was that same thing from the show where the one thing they changed was instead of Frank staying after that whole confrontation with Bill in the game, he's off screen. He left and couldn't survive without him. And I don't know. That would have been a much more real story to show on the screen. I think it was really strong in the game because of how subtle it was. But
Yeah.
Well,
As I see this as like the San Junipero of this season. You know,
right.
it's like
Yeah.
the internet won't stop talking about this one.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was good,
Oh,
standalone.
no, it was
Yeah,
standalone.
it was
It was a
excellent.
good. It was a good story. Yeah.
Great piece of work
Yeah.
right there, and great work from the actors as well. And
Yeah.
I think these actors have a lot
Hey there, Chris.
going for them already. You know,
Yeah.
one being Ron Swanson and the manager of the first season from White Lotus.
Right. Right.
So the fanfare is all there, and I
Yeah.
think it's just the perfect concoction for the internet to start swooning over a piece of like cinema
Yeah.
history right now.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
it's getting, people are talking about it being like the greatest episode ever of anything.
Yeah,
People
and
can
I'm
throw
like,
that
it was
around.
good. It was good, but I've
Yeah.
seen just
But I'm
as
just saying for
many
like the
episodes.
normies, you know,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
for
if
like
people
the
think this
normies
is
out
good,
there,
Yeah.
and
if people think this is good, I think the some of the stuff they have coming up for the rest of the Last of Us storyline is just gonna really shock them and blow people away with just realness and
well,
touchy stories.
I'm hoping they don't blow their load on this one, but
I
like
don't
if
think
this
they
is
did.
what they're offering this early on,
Yeah.
like I'm excited to see what's coming up
Yeah.
next.
Same. Yeah. For sure. We haven't been on for 2 weeks, obviously, but the Academy Award nominations went out, and pretty much everything we talked about that we, were our favorite, were in there for Best Picture, and Fabelmans is in there, which was decent. Where the Water got in there, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Bill Nye's nominated for Best Leading Actor.
Yeah.
Science guy.
Yes. Wait, that is weird. Oh my god, I never caught
Why
that.
has no
You
one
guys
told
don't
me
know-
this?
You guys don't know Bill Nye is?
They were really desperate this year, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, you guys are joking, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, everything. Michelle Yeoh's up there again, and Ki Hugh Kwan, and a few others. There's been some.
That's two actors from the movie Encino Man.
Yeah, that is still crazy. I know. Yeah, it's spun out.
They share multiple scenes together.
Yeah.
It's great. It's good to know that movie still prevails.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just keeps reading.
Well,
It just keeps
here you go.
reaching
Look at
higher. Yeah,
Yeah.
just keeps reaching higher heights.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, how cool is that? Like these two make the biggest comebacks in history for
Yeah,
I think
Encino Man continues to reach higher heights of prestige.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine it going any higher, but
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Maybe a remake where that remake wins an Oscar.
Encino Man's something that won't get a remake, but get like a series.
I can
know
see
what I mean?
that.
And like Teen Wolf, what happened with Teen Wolf? Kind of just like it was a movie, had a few like sequels that no one saw, and that became like this whole other genre.
Yeah. They're doing something new with it. I thought I read somewhere. But,
It's a movie based on like the current run, I guess.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
It's coming full
My
circle.
okay.
my only connection to it is seeing it on bus stops
Yeah.
or like at the promenade.
I saw the
poster at the
original
promenade.
with it was Michael J. Fox's the original. Then it was Jason Bateman in the sequel.
Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Jason Bateman became like the discount Michael J. Fox around that time.
I didn't like either one of them. I like the movies. I just never got into the
Werewolf
Teen Wolf
basketball movies. What's there
Dude,
to like
I
really get
love-
into?
concept. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love the first one. Like,
Really?
I grew up
Fair
with that
enough.
one. I watched it
Fair
so
enough.
much. The
Fair
moment when his spoilers, guys, the moment when he starts turning into a wolf, and then he opens the door because his dad's knocking
His
on
dad's
there
soul kind
to
of
reveal that he's a wolf
Yeah.
is one of the best moments in cinema history, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Because
the
that
OG
is
Avengers
that is
Gate.
such a good reveal, man. Like he's like, oh, he's freaking out, and like we're all, it's so intense, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna find out, and his dad's just standing there, just like.
Yeah. So you got some changes that are going on, kid.
But I love the way his dad looks because it's like for an age appropriate wolf.
Yes.
For his dad to have that salt and pepper. Magnificent.
Fair enough. If you haven't seen it, check out Teen Wolf. Give us your thoughts. On the Star Wars front, Daisy Ridley pops up in the news again. She's always open for a phone call from Lucasfilm for more employment and stuff like that. I feel like they're going to be moving forward with another Star Wars movie based around Daisy Ridley. It feels like that's the direction they're going. I mean, they've spent all this money at keeping this time period at
Galaxy's
Disneyland.
Edge.
Well, we're at the
Galaxy's
Disney.
Edge.
We're at the Disney
Yeah.
era, so it's a
Sure.
saturation of Star Wars content. You know,
It seems
It's
like the
not going to
cat.
be like a huge break, like after the
Yeah,
original trilogy, it was like just
yeah,
nothingness, maybe
yeah.
a few kids shows here and there. But
No,
like outside of that,
yeah. It feels like they're ready to move back into the feature film genre and bring back those characters. And it seems like those actors are more or less becoming ready to want to be coming back again.
John
So,
Boyega's coming back too.
well, we don't know about that. We're not too sure about
I
his
don't think John
position.
Boyega will
Oscar
go back.
Isaacs.
Who knows? Oscar Isaacs has apparently expressed interest. I thought I had read at one point, but we'll see. We'll
I'm
see.
sure he's down for anything.
Yeah, but Daisy Ridley is the first, so it's like okay, she had
I
that
think she's
meeting with
probably the most
Lucasfilm
important. Like,
a few months ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
she would be. Yeah, I would like to
she's
see
a
something about
Skywalker.
her. No, please don't say that. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Guys, she's Rey Skywalker.
It's Ray Skywalker, dude.
I'm fine with Ray just basically being Ray. I mean,
Ray Solano, dude.
Could you
doing her
imagine
own
if she
thing.
hyphenated? She's Rey Skywalker Palpatine.
They're gonna continue the Palpatine saga, dude. Oh my god! See, if they continue, that means a Palpatine is gonna outlast the Skywalkers in this.
Yeah, we'll see. Depends on whether she has kids. Depends on whether she has kids or not. I mean,
the whole trilogy, like including all of them, is this Palpatine saga from now on.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it pretty much is becoming that, isn't it? Again, we have been out for a couple of weeks, but Skeleton Crew has finished wrapping now, apparently.
That nightmare of a set, huh?
The nightmare of a set. We keep on hearing not so great rumors and reports coming in from that set. But at the same time,
how bad could that be? Like, I've been on some really bad sets,
Yeah.
Like,
apparently
is this
just the way
union people
been
complaining, or
it's
like
the way production was run. I keep hearing, reading reports about that production was run very poorly. People on set
that's new.
were outside.
Come on,
they were outsiders.
Guys. Like, you guys know.
No,
you guys know
I worked
that's
through lunch
right.
this week.
But
Production's been always a little.
They are outsiders to, say, the Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni kind of group. So apparently it's like a little, it's a lot more rougher. But
if it's just a little bit,
but working conditions supposedly are not great according to people.
If it's just outside of the standard they're used to, they're gonna have a miserable time.
Could be,
and so it's probably not that bad.
Yeah,
compared to what we're used to.
Well, yeah, possibly.
Being non-union.
Either way,
I mean, Max, you aren't union, right?
No.
Yeah, I would be curious to see what that show becomes, because there is supposed to be some tie-off after Ahsoka to this series, and that's I haven't read too much into it. I've been trying to avoid reading too much on it, but apparently there's a connection in there. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Somehow Palpatine has returned, become the "I am your father" of this current.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah, it really has.
As far as quoted, like, that has been the most.
Hey, that's so too. Shot in London. That was that, and Skeleton Crew is actually shot in the US.
Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah. The other thing they dropped this week.
If it was shot in London, they're probably just complaining about the food.
Well, London, they're shooting Acolyte and season 2 of Andor. I think that's all they got room for.
Difference of, like, in London they have 8 to 10 hour days, where US we have standard 12-hour days on film crews. I wonder if that's a difference that changed anything. Whether they brought people in who worked on the London crews and they're working 4 hours longer.
That'll do it.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, Skeleton Crew is shot here, so it's
that's what I'm saying.
No, but that's what he said. He if they bring people from London who are used to 10-hour days.
I don't think they brought anyone from London. I think Skeleton Crew is a local.
Probably. But I think it was probably local union, right?
Yeah, I think it's local. Yeah, it'd be a local union for Skeleton Crew. Yeah, I mean, I believe if they are doing this Daisy Ridley film, then it too will be shot in England. Apparently, there is a film being set up to be shooting in England, and that could be the one that's under. Oh God, what's his name? No, I forgot his name.
Taika Waititi.
No. He's kind of disappeared off the face of the list right now.
He's laying low.
I think
he's laying low.
I think Disney. He got in trouble at Disney, and they're like kind of.
Yeah.
lying low for him a little bit, especially after Ragnarok underperformed. Not Ragnarok, Love and Thunder.
Yeah, Love and Thunder. Yeah.
I think they're just kind of like waiting to see if you could bring something legit to the table, or if you just bring another silly mess.
Yeah. Hey there, Anchorman. How's it going? Yeah, exactly. The other
We
thing
letting
they
them run
announced,
too wild, man.
yeah.
They gave him too much freedom.
Yeah, probably. The other thing that dropped this past week was that Visions Season 2 has got a release date for May the 4th. These are the different companies outside of El Guri Studios, which we saw the little short piece from the Grogu and the Dust Bunnies.
Ghibli.
Yeah.
Ghibli. Studio Ghibli. You mean, wait, what'd you call it, Brent?
Guri? Ghibli? It's Ghibli, is it called? I don't know. El Guri?
No,
I can't.
Joking.
But which was the one that was? Have you guys heard of any of these other companies?
Aardman's the one I know of, and they've done Wallace and Gromit and
That's
the
it.
Chevron commercials and Chicken Run.
Gotcha. So we're gonna get
They're
some
the
sort
reason
of a
that
claymation.
they're the reason that Disney cars had to settle for windshield eyes instead of headlight eyes.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't
Because
know
the Chevron Techron took the patent for making, cars with personalities, their eyes through the headlights.
Really?
That's clever.
Oh, that's fun.
But if they didn't do the windshield eyes, they wouldn't have been able to put that gag in one of the car movies where Flash gets flashed by those fans.
Really?
Remember?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's nice.
That's
At least we got that out of the whole deal.
Ka-chow.
Fair enough.
Ka-chow indeed.
But yeah, I haven't done my research. I don't know what these other studios have done in their style of animation, but they are from all over the world.
I mean, if they're on their radar, they're worth looking up.
For sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you're an animation fan. So
wait, bring that up again. Let me see.
Yeah, let's do some research.
El Guri Studios. Is that sounds familiar?
El Guri, isn't that that's the one that did the Grogu and the Dust Bunnies though.
No, it's not.
Oh, isn't it?
Oh, Studio Ghibli.
No, it's
Miyazaki's. That's Miyazaki's company.
Oh, okay. What was El Guri? Wow. Okay.
I don't recognize it.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything. But Studio Ghibli. I guess are they? That's the only thing they're doing, right? I think I would like to see a full, like a theatrical animation by them in the Star Wars universe. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. But we're going to have a lot to hear about. I'm sure there'll be a trailer sometime after the Mandalorian Season 3 drops. Speaking of Season 3, they dropped a few posters this week, which I like this poster. I think it's
I like this one better.
Yeah.
This is a better poster.
Yeah. A couple of different production art pieces. Just some nice stuff. I mean, some really nice...
What did you say about that, Max? He looks like an old...
Looks like an old Jewish guy. Grogu?
Yeah? Oh,
He's just sitting at the deli.
Looks like he's waiting for his pudding.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh, it's just tapioca pudding or rice pudding.
We're less than a month out before Season 3 drops. I actually rewatched Season 2 in the background on TV yesterday and just had it playing all the way through. My God, Season 2 is worth to rewatch again.
Yeah.
If you haven't done a sit down and rewatch, it's really, really worth it. Like, I found myself sitting here doing some stuff on the computer, then I'm just constantly looking at the screen again. It was like, holy crap, I either forgot that little moment happened or those beats, but there was some really, really cool stuff.
It's cool they go to where Mon Calamari are from, right?
What's that? That was in Mon Calamari.
What is where was that?
That was the
those are Squid Face people.
Squid Face.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where they were from though. I think that was just a planet they existed on, because the Quorum, I can't remember. The Quorum, which is the Squid Head race, they exist on the same planet as Mon Cala, which is they're basically the more or less opposites of the Mon Calamari. So they do live on the same water planet, from what we gathered from the Clone Wars arc that they did. The other thing that got announced this week is that Joseph Shirley is going to be scoring Season 3 of The Mandalorian under the supervision of
Ludwig.
Yeah, Ludwig. Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Which is interesting.
Who's Joseph Shirley?
He did the score for Book of Boba Fett, which again under.
I thought Ludwig did that.
He did it under Ludwig's supervision. So Ludwig made So Ludwig's being pulled left, right, and center. Obviously.
Did you know the theme for Book of Boba Fett was just ripped off of the Scandinavian show from the 90s?
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Oh no, there's like a clip. You could look up the intro, and it's like exactly because like Ludwig used to watch that growing up, I guess. But it's like pretty much spot on. He didn't do much to change it.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, that piece of music took me a while to get used to. I have to admit, in Book of Boba Fett.
That's the thing about Ludwig Göransson, man. He's so versatile. I wouldn't be able to like pinpoint his style. You know, not like the way you would with John Williams. Yeah. How you could like, it's a specific style. He's like across the board because he does like Black Panther. He does like, he did Turning Red.
Yeah. Yeah.
And among other things, dude. He's just so versatile. But I think that's just with the new generation, huh? Yeah. You're growing up with so much stuff.
Pretty much.
Well, he's like a millennial.
We also had Bad Batch drop this week, which had Gunji from the animated arc of the Clone Wars. What were your final thoughts on that, guys?
It's a good episode, probably the best of the season.
Really?
I like that one with the droids. The one with like the separatist town that they took over.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one so far.
That was my favorite one so far with
Cody.
Cody and Crosshair. I really enjoyed that one.
This one was.
It's interesting.
I did like that droid in the beginning looked like a Pokemon.
What?
Yeah, he did.
One?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
really?
like a Golett, which you cut out of our reaction, Brent.
What's that?
He cut that comment out of the reaction.
Really? It's kind of hard to kind of focus on everything being said at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're editing stuff together. So it's like...
Yeah, he always has an excuse.
But this episode, in fact, was originally narrowed down as a Clone Wars arc of Season 8. They had written...
Oh, it was like a leftover?
Done some animatics, but then they updated it for the time period because originally it was related around the clones. If you have a look at some of these animatics, you've got the creatures and you've got the Bad Batch returning in the Clone Wars.
Dang, does that mean we'll eventually get like a Boba Fett Cad Bane episode? Like, if that only exists in animatics?
Very possibility, or they're still holding off because they want to do other animated Clone Wars arc stories.
Yeah, where would they put that if they were to do that?
Yeah, it feels like the Empire is still the right time period because I think Boba Fett was like 15 at the time of when Order 66 happened. So he had a couple of years behind him. You know, he went from 12 to 15 between that time period.
That episode was pre-Order 66 though, right?
Which one?
With Boba Fett and Cad Bane.
Originally, yes. We don't know if they're going to update it.
They could just age him up a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is that in that version of it too, he already had his Mandalorian armor. Because we haven't seen Boba Fett in the Clone Wars with Mandalorian armor except for his father's helmet.
Which he blew up.
Which is interesting because now it's like, how did he get?
Which was a bad choice. Helmet? Like he shouldn't have. I don't know why they made him blow it up. That was kind of a.
Actually,
they weren't really thinking too much when. They weren't thinking about it when they did. It's like, oh, that would be cool if he used his helmet as a trap, but that was it. They were like, oh, wait a second.
But he still would have done that. But he still would have had to have acquired another helmet somehow. So.
Yeah, and that sucks. I thought he just used his dad's helmet this whole time.
Well, who knows? Maybe he just melted it down and reforged.
Doesn't he say in Book of Boba Fett, "This was my father's armor"?
Correct.
Armor,
the
but
armor,
not helmet.
The helmet, yeah.
I guess I did the helmet.
Yes, exactly.
No, I'm just saying they didn't think too much when they decided to write in that he blows up the helmet.
Right. Well,
they weren't thinking.
Again, maybe they did. Who knows? You know, maybe
that's they weren't, man. They weren't. They was like, that would be cool, and then they did it without thinking about it.
This is just some of the other images from this Clone Wars arc that was related to. You know, they've got all the creatures down from what they designed.
Looks as good as the final product.
Well, I mean, but even these guys, even the Kinrith, we see them
so lifelike.
Shut up. Well,
They
that's
didn't
why
really
it's
do
called an
much.
animatic,
Just
dumbass.
one pass,
That's what
and then they just put it on screen, dude.
that's why it's called an animatic. But we
No,
actually
I'm
got
joking, dude. I'm
yeah.
joking.
I know. Even this guy, Baba Fentoma, I think his name is. He was designed as part of the Clone Wars arc as well. So we
Interesting.
actually had almost everything there, right down to the idea of the Wookiees. This is a piece of Dave Filoni artwork from the Clone Wars, uh, uh, being at the trees and praying over the trees. So that was all there for a very long time. So when people kind of go, well, that's copying Avatar, it's really not. Well, maybe it is too. I don't
It
know. That
is,
would have been
dude.
about the same time.
Avatar came out before that, man.
About the same time. But the thing is that the Wookiees and the nature of Kashyyyk were all kind of connected, kind of thing, as being thing. The
See, Dave
trees are.
Filoni just watched Avatar when he came up with that idea. That's all you're really proving right now.
I keep forgetting there's an
It was
Avatar
still
before the sequel.
fresh. It was fresh in his
Uh
mind.
huh. Uh huh. Or maybe it was. So what? I mean, the Wookiees can have a commune with nature. We also had a very strong connection to the design of the huts and their houses, I should say, and the holiday special. Was this from the holiday special?
Well, it's canon, so you kind of have to.
Oh, absolutely. No, totally. Yeah, I think that was kind of cool. Very canon was yeah. Okay, very canon.
I still wish that there was an old Wookiee in a headset, like VR set in the background somewhere this
For sure.
episode. Like he should have been sitting
Uh
inside
huh.
on his recliner
For
watching
sure.
Gladys Knight.
That's a very disturbing thought, but yeah.
It's
And
canon.
of course, the very opening, of course, we had the droid that looked like L3, which we see in Solo, which I like
And
the
looked like a
design.
Golette.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this episode? I mean, I was entertained. I liked it. It still wasn't my favorite of the season, but I liked the tie-in to the Wookiees, which we really had not had. Even in the Clone Wars, we didn't have many
Yeah, I would
arcs
have never
tying the
connected
Wookiees.
into the Navi of Avatar. That's a nice connection.
Maybe the Wookiees are the the other.
As if you were to shave them.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the thing.
Grrr. Haven't you ever seen a hairless
I've
Wookiee?
seen like I've seen the latex underskin of like Chewbacca's mask, so you get like a good idea of what they'd
Yeah.
look like without hair.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I
But
mean,
like, you know what's weird is
what's
when
that?
you look at Chewbacca and then you see his fingers and then you see his toes. It's so weird. It's so
Yeah.
like almost uncanny. Like I
Yeah.
always get thrown off whenever I see his like fingernails.
Fair
You guys
enough.
ever feel that way?
No,
Uh,
I've always kind of just,
It's just how it is. You'd expect like claws or something like that, but then he's got like these like human
well,
like
that's how he
fingers.
operates on the ship.
right.
It's true. It just always throws me off a bit.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's all the Star Wars news that I've seen come up this week. I'm, you know, we're a couple of weeks away from Mandalorian season 3. I'm extremely hyped for that. We've got a two-part episode of Bad Batch this week, back to back with two episodes straight up. It's mid-season kind of, or mid-season arc kind of
I
thing.
guess they're done with the fillers, huh?
Well, I mean, yeah, we tend to get a good two-part mid-season arc somewhere in
Back to
there.
back pod racing episodes.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping like whenever they show Crosshair, I mean it's gonna be serious, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Until Crosshair decides to pod race.
Just
I,
the one that became a Nazi.
I'm much more invested in Crosshair's story right now than I am with the Bad Batch, who kind of have almost fallen to the sidelines of almost every story.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
it's all about
it's
Omega.
all like,
Recently.
all right, let's go get this money, and then they're like,
Yeah.
Echo, stay with the ship, and then she's like, all right, and then she doesn't stay with the ship. It's like, oh no, Echo, and then they do their thing.
Yeah,
Mediocre
yeah.
action scene.
I would like to see some
Back on the
character
ship.
development by
No
introducing
lessons
Boba
learned.
Fett to this series
No.
because we need Boba Fett and Omega in the same story arc somewhere, and we need to explore.
I think so.
Yeah, they need.
I mean,
to
that
explore
would, if there's anything that will help, yeah, bring in some familiar characters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Star Wars is best at, right?
Yeah, but the interlinking of that is still key to spinning off future and
By interlinking, he means the fan service.
No, I meant that they develop a character like Omega. You expect that at some point they're gonna have to link that character to Boba Fett.
That's the art of the Filoni verse is the interlocking of like a brand new character and trying to link it into the existing lore.
But she's already pretty linked. I mean, she's his genetic sister.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be weird if they never addressed that ever.
Yeah. See, I'm more invested in the other stories. Nala Se, who was taken into the taken by the Empire at the end of the last season, and we see her being taken to Mount Tennis. I want to know what's going on in there. That's like that goes back to the Shadows of the Empire. Heir to the Empire. With Thrawn and the secret, base that Palpatine kept all of the secrets from and all that. Basically Palpatine had an Ark of the Covenant himself. Jason, if you weren't aware of that. And that's on a planet underneath this mountain. And it's like got all the, everything from cloning facilities to rare artifacts to whatever. And I want to see that story. I want to see.
I mean, it is the Palpatine saga, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I want to see situations where we end up in those places.
I'm just waiting for the next season of Andor. That's all.
We know, Jason. You're not enjoying any of it. I'm
enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I just have it's a kids show.
You have your priorities. Fair enough. So shall we jump across to some DC news? A couple of things that happened this week.
Just a couple.
Just a couple of little things. Titans and Doom Patrol are going to be ending with season 4 on HBO Max. They are saying now that Superman and Lois is either going to end at the end of season 3, which is its current season, or season 4, which means that it's got a very short lifespan on the CW left. And it sounds like CW is actually moving from shows and events back to life, reality shows and stuff like that again, which is like, okay, there goes the CW out the door for anything that could have had some sort of fun and fantasy in it.
Are they just wrapping up all the CW stuff? Huh?
They're wrapping up all the CW stuff so that they can
all the CW stuff. A lot of
it's about time.
The thing is, they want to make it a reality show kind of base thing.
Well, and the HBO Max stuff like Titans and Doom Patrol is ending, so they could usher in their new
wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, they're gonna which
and so like every DC thing out there, except for like Joker and Batman movies,
right? Yeah,
they're all gonna be connected now.
Yeah, the Flash is ending. This is its last half season. It airs in the next couple of weeks, I think it is.
What is even going on in that show right now?
I can't remember.
Oliver Queen's coming back.
Oliver Queen is coming back for the season finale. Yes, which is cool. That show is kind of like the last arc of that. Because even Superman and Lois is not now tied into that version of the show.
They connected them and then separated them.
Yeah, because
that's the Superman from Supergirl, right? And the actor.
Yes, but they introduced.
But it's not connected at all.
They introduced him first in I think one of the Elseworlds stories, I think, and then he got pulled into Supergirl. I mean, again, I'm enjoying that series. I'm looking forward to season 3 starting in the next few weeks as well. Yeah, but let's say, what was the Doom? James Gunn here did tweet out this little response.
I think both those shows were on life support.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I watched both of them, but they're struggling pretty hard.
Could only go for so long. Like, they running out of stuff, or I mean, you're never going to.
I think it's viewership. I think it's just viewership.
Yeah,
I think they have endless stories. Like Titans have been around for years. Doom Patrol, you could get into all sorts of weird stuff. I think it's just.
But viewership. I think people are growing out of it. It's.
Well, Legends was always hit and miss. It always either had a good season or a bad season. It kept on jumping back and forth. Batwoman, unfortunately for me, it just wasn't a strong vision at all.
Batwoman was definitely the wrong creative team behind that show.
And
that was a mess, right? They had to recast her and everything.
Well, they injured Ruby Rose and Yeah.
Does that one happened to her career?
Yeah, she got like really badly injured, but I don't think
She
she's
was
ever that.
she was a star for a sec.
Yeah.
She had a quick 15
Gotham
minutes.
Knights. I don't think I have any interest in seeing Gotham Knights after
No,
that piece. It looks
listen.
so.
I love all those characters. I love Harper Row. I love
Uh-huh.
Spoiler.
Right.
I hate Dula Dent. To be honest, I
Mm-hmm.
hate Dula Dent a lot, but I
Okay.
don't think this show is going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the meat of this. This is what James Gunn announced in his 5-minute little blog drop. Excuse me. So, Superman Legacy, the movie, Brave and the Bold, movie, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, The Authority.
Brent,
Swamp
have another
Thing.
drink, dude. Your
Yeah,
voice.
I know. My throat's. Yeah, I know. Yeah, sometimes that happens. I get dry mouth.
This is brought to you by Aquafina.
There you go. Shut up. Preacher Commandos animated series. Waller, a TV show. Lanterns, based around the Green Lanterns, also a TV show. Booster Gold, a TV show. And Paradise Lost, based on Themyscira, also a television show.
What'd you say, Max? We're eating good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, Max, you're our DC expert here. Let's start with Superman.
Yeah, James Gunn kind of implied that it was going to be inspired by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman.
Okay.
Now that doesn't really make sense because that's a book about Superman dying. It's supposed to be like
Right?
That's
like a later. That's like a later story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about the last story of Superman. That's what it's supposed to be about.
I think what they're aiming for is the existentialism he experiences.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be
because it's the most existential out of all of his stories, and it kind of humanizes him in a sense.
Right.
Like it's not a traditional. It's a pretty relatively newer take on Superman.
Yeah,
it has all this stuff from his lore and everything that we're familiar with, but it humanizes him a great deal.
Right.
And I think that would be a good start. I feel like there are literally like quotes that Man of Steel took from that.
Yeah, the whole Jor-El quote about they will race behind you, they will struggle, they will fall.
I think that I think like Zack Snyder attempted to kind of grab from that.
I've always thought he did that quote better. In the book, Jor-El is telling Superman, he says, they will race behind you, they will stumble, they will curse you, but in time they will see the light. But Zack Snyder changed it to what was it? They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the light, which I actually thought was slightly stronger than the.
Those were delivered well, dude. That was it really got that aspect really good.
And I love Grant Morrison too, but that was just some really strong writing Zack Snyder had, just to add that little bit of they will stumble, they will fall. I was like, that's the capture of the humanity he was trying to capture Superman of an aspiration to strive towards.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing about that Grant Morrison run is that like it respects Superman for what we know of what it is.
Yeah.
But then kind of modernized him and kind of brought in an extra dimension to him that humanizes him a lot more and makes us be able to connect rather than just a kind of super being, you know. But I mean, it's going to be interesting seeing him start Superman with this because the whole.
Yeah.
Do I own a shop? No, I wish.
He could at this point. What you don't see around him is
I'm
just
surprised you just don't have your whole wall like floor to ceiling.
Yeah, I should get like
shelves. Yeah, get them, mount them, and put them in slips, and just have the whole wall up there.
I have bookshelves. I have boxes. Yeah.
But no, Max works and spends his money on comics the same way I work and spend my money on Star Wars. But anyway, back to Superman, guys. The one thing I'm hoping, I assume that we will see is stuff like when we saw the animated show of Justice League and the Superman animated stories and stuff like that, they would loosely base certain arcs on comic books, but they would still bring their own vibe and feel to something we haven't seen before. Do we think we're going to be getting an exact copy of some of these arcs from Superman? You feel like we'd not because of
if you're doing it as a movie, you're not going to be able to do what the Superman show does, you know, because like each episode's an arc, and you get a lot more screen time with the whole series.
Well, same with the comic, because it's a 12-issue comic, and each also Superman, each issue was largely standalone with a connected plot running through it, but it'd each be he's in a situation. How is he going to get out of it? He's stranded on Bizarro World. How is he going to get out of Bizarro World? Or Lois Lane now has Superman powers for 24 hours. What does she do with her gift on her birthday? It's stuff like that to recontextualize how you think about Superman and his actions.
Gotcha.
So I think he's going to take the elements of the way Superman interacts with the world around him. I think it's going to be a Jimmy Olsen. It's going to be a bumbling Clark Kent. I think it's going to be a Lois Lane who doesn't want to believe that Superman is Clark Kent. I think she's going to be a whole thing of he's going to tell her, but she's not going to believe it. I think it's going to be right in front of her, and she's just going to say, no, it's not. It can't be.
Right.
I think it's going to take a lot of those elements, but I don't think
will there be a relationship involved, do you think, down the track still?
Weirdly, it's also Superman didn't have the typical Superman Lois relationship that we have now in the comics, where they are married and have a kid. They were more friends. Lois never really had that much interest in Clark Kent for a really long time, and we might get that compared just to contrast the pretty steamy Clark and Lois relationship we got in the Snyderverse.
Right. Fair enough. Anything else on Superman? We'll jump over to Superman.
I think it's going to be very different. I think it's going to be one of a lot brighter. I think he's going to have a lot more of the classic characters using the classic ways. Jimmy Olsen's going to be there with his classic super watch. I think it's going to have a lot of fun stuff like that. I think it's going to have a lot of nods to classic Golden Age Superman history.
That's what I want to see. I kind of need to see that. And I know we've seen it before, but we need to see it on a feature film that is purely just,
Do you think James will direct it? I think when you have the opportunity to direct, I think he will. If you have the opportunity to direct Superman, you don't say no. It's like,
I think he's got too much on his plate. I mean, he has to keep everything in balance for this first arc, and I feel like that for him to actually direct something this arc, I mean, that's why Peacemaker is not there, I'm guessing season 2.
Oh, no, I think it's not there because he's shifted it to Waller. I think he realized he could do a much bigger, better story with those characters and still keep those characters. I think Peacemaker and Vigilante will be there, but it'll be more of a checkmate show where it's Waller taking a way more active role in the physical government and starting to do some real work with some inside ops.
Which kind of brings in the Supergirl story. We've got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I don't know too much about this particular phase of the comic arc.
So this is recent. This is 2021 into 2022, I believe. This was part of DC's Infinite Frontier line that they just ended. This is James Gunn said it's going to be a direct adaptation of this Tom King run. And it's a very different run. It's not set on Earth. It starts with a woman losing her father, kind of like a fantasy stylized. She lost her father and wants vengeance. She's looking for kind of a sellsword, and she goes to a bar and encounters a drunken Supergirl who has taken a rocket ship to this planet to get drunk for her 21st birthday, just to feel normal for once. And it goes to this whole thing of it's a weirdly introspective Supergirl story where she's kind of meandering around the galaxy, solving all these problems, with the ultimate goal of kind of getting this guy who killed her father. And I'm not going to really get into any spoilers or anything, but it kind of just makes you think of Supergirl differently. She talks about Clark and Superman, but she's not praising him. She kind of, at one point, she calls him a dick and a bitch, which is just hilarious. She ends up withstanding a red sun for, I think, like 40 hours, 10 hours, something like that. And it was revealed Superman was only able to withstand it for 40 minutes before the Justice League was able to rescue him.
Gotcha.
And it makes her able to stand on her own as her own character in this new generation, a lot stronger.
So the Supergirl sounds a lot more resentful towards Superman.
She's not resentful. She doesn't hate him or anything. It's almost comedic the way she views him, whereas she just thinks like everyone thinks he's so cool, but like, what am I?
Sounds resentful to me, bro.
I mean, it doesn't come off as resentful. It's
It's because like she just had it so rough. He had it so easy.
Yeah. She was the person who had to. It talks about
she had to watch Krypton get destroyed.
She didn't have an easy path around the galaxy. She didn't go right to Earth. She was kind of in stasis shooting around the galaxy for a while.
She could be a lot more brooding of a character than.
It goes into her trauma a little bit and what stands her out, and has some dope scenes of her riding a unicorn, This book's
That's
got
awesome.
everything.
I think if they could, I mean, that's James Gunn's forte, right? Drama.
I think, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I'm hoping he gets Tom King to write it, because he had a little bit of a failed stint as a DC movie writer, where he was asked to write a New Gods movie that DC then pulled away from him, blaming Zack Snyder's success, which was such an awful, mean, rude move to do to Tom King, who is probably their best writer in their DC comic stable right now. So I'm hoping he gets another shot and they let him adapt his own story for the screen.
Well, I think like this is Warner Brothers DC's overhaul. Like they're not going to fall into the same patterns that they did before they have for these past decades.
I mean, they're already making significant strides in changing the way they view the media as a whole. Like James Gunn was open about what books are influencing the upcoming slate of movies. Now all those books are completely sold out, which is incredible. It's something Marvel hasn't been able to do, which have actual working synergy.
Yeah. And they literally sold out within literally days of James mentioning all this information. That's kind of a good push for showing that people are invested and are interested in what he has to bring to the table.
They're going head first in the whole respecting the source material.
Yeah. I think they're going to be a lot more respectful towards the creatives than Marvel has been. Marvel's done what Marvel's always done, and put the creators aside and put the characters in the forefront, saying, look how many great toys we have, without really honoring the people who gave them those toys.
That's the thing. They've kind of drifted from the source material from the get-go, and it seems to be working for them, and they've just continued to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like we see all these other type of, all these other studios doing comic book stuff, and then sticking to the source material tends to do a lot more for them. But Marvel has had its success without having to do that. So I'm just thinking that they're just continuing doing what they do, but they did hit a lull in this last phase, so maybe it will change things up for them as well. And if they see the success of DC, well, it hasn't happened yet. But
I mean, I would call all these books selling out a success. I mean,
I mean the movies. Like, movies do well, and sticking to source material has proven to do a lot for a lot of IP. Hopefully Marvel will start gearing towards that. I mean, but they're going to have to fail first in order for them to kind of change gears. And
I could just imagine how stupid Kevin Feige must feel for not promoting like the Infinity Saga comic books while the Infinity Saga was going on. Like he could have made Marvel so much more money, which would have...
Ironically, She-Hulk is the most comic accurate out of all of the things that Marvel has done, and people hate it.
You just went mute there, Jason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
So I think you're right, though.
Marvel is not gonna shift them to stick to source material. It's like, well, we do that with She-Hulk, and everyone was pissed off.
You might be right. I mean, I've always said I think a lot of Marvel movie fans wouldn't like the comics because it's everything they criticize that they don't like about like the DC movies.
Yeah, this is our topic, Malloy.
But yeah, as far as like sticking to source material, I mean, it's not a fail. It's not like a sure win.
Right.
No,
you got to be careful with it, and it's about respecting it, I guess. But it's somewhere in between that. Like there's a respect for it, and at the same time, like sometimes it's good to stick exactly to it. I mean,
I think Woman of Tomorrow is going to be that. It's a very definitive story of, it's a self-contained limited series, so it also didn't have any big ramifications in the universe, so it's not like a big status quo change. It's more of just an intensely personal story between two characters. So I think James Gunn probably read that story recently. He was posting about it a while back. So I think he probably read it and said, this is the perfect Supergirl movie to introduce her to a new generation of people in a different light.
That's good. I think I like that context of a Supergirl. But thinking like certain comic like runs and certain aspects of some comic books just translate well, and I think as a showrunner like James Gunn, he'd be able to figure that out, because if you just go exactly like the comics, oh my god, it's gonna be a mess. But there's certain aspects that work, And if you focus on those and like portray those right, you think there's some good success to come.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer this one. I am interested in checking out what they do with Blue Beetle. I was invested enough in Aquaman to see what they do in the sequel to Aquaman, and I guess I have no choice but to watch The Flash to understand how they shut down this current universe. I was never really a fan of the first, what's his name? Zach Levi, Shazam film.
Shazam.
It was okay. Like it didn't blow me away. It felt very 90s.
It's very mediocre.
I may see the sequel, but I don't know if it has any real tie-in. So, but yes, I will be invested in where this goes. But I feel like I need to finish off watching The Flash and kind of at least appreciate what was bought before. Because that film is 3 years old at this point. It's an old film that was shot 3 years ago. It's only just had a process of COVID and all these other issues along the way.
Crime sprees along the way.
Crime sprees along the way from the Flash himself, it would seem. Just jumping back quickly, Supergirl is supposed to appear in one of these upcoming films.
She's going to be in The Flash, played by Sasha.
A version of her in The Flash, right?
It's going to be the weird Flash. It honestly doesn't have any ramifications over James Gunn's universe at all, because it's going to be an alternate universe Flashpoint version of this character.
So they may change actors again. If
they may keep her though, just for good faith, just to honor, like, hey, I'm sorry you got screwed over in this deal. Same with possibly Batgirl. They might keep actors who got just screwed over by bad timing.
Yeah.
Though Batgirl is supposedly unreleasable, according to Peter Safran, which now I want to see it more. How bad could this movie have been that they're like, oh no, trust us, you don't want to see it.
Well, it was such a big deal when they just canceled that whole movie. And I've always had second thoughts. It's like, was it even good, guys?
I mean, that's the thing. If they're saying right now, if they're not apologizing and saying we'll do better, and instead they're saying trust us, it was probably pretty bad.
Yeah, it could have
to be honest.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll never.
I would have destroyed everything if it was that bad. But
my theory is they went way too like over the top with the violence, and there was like they had like weird gritty moments, but then they also had the kind of like bubblegum schoolgirl moments of Barbara Gordon. Right. So I imagine it was like they watched it and they're like, "Who is this movie for?"
Yeah. Didn't know what tone to be.
Yeah, I mean, it had a very violent villain of Firefly.
Yeah. Like, it was like
Killer Moth was in it too. Like,
it was on the spectrum of Joker and a Schumacher film.
That's what it kind of sounded like. I feel like it was definitely like mismatched in tone of just over the top action. And
probably the height of Warner Brothers' confusion on how to deal with DC properties, and so it's probably within that whole range.
Is a reality.
And it probably has a lot of jokes that don't fit the movie whatsoever that they can't cut out.
Right after a guy gets his brains blown out, and they joke. It's probably what it's gonna be like.
Ooh, messy. Like it's like probably just like stuff like that.
Let's move on to Max's elephant in the room, but my kind of favorite hyped upcoming story. Batman.
Oh.
Wait, what's the elephant?
I don't know. I love Grant Morrison.
You do? Okay.
I have everything right here. This is all of it.
Were you not a fan of Damian Wayne though, or you?
I love Damian.
I
just think it's the wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
Brent, what are you gaslighting for, man?
I want the
gaslighting for, Brent.
Well, I thought the Damian Wayne arc was not something that you were kind of.
No, I love Damian Wayne arc.
Okay, all right, okay.
I have that book like 7 different ways to be honest.
All right,
my initial thoughts on hearing about this was that they went from no Robins
to all of them,
all the Robins,
which would be cool. Which
But here's the thing: if we're doing all the Robins, I actually want all the Robins. I want Dick. I want Tim. I want Jason. I want Steph. I want
dead Jason.
We may get that. We don't know. It's too early.
I think he has to be.
I think the focal point is going to be Damian, obviously. But
he's famous for dying.
He understands the purpose of what Jason Todd served for Batman for years, because that was his era of Batman, where Jason Todd was dead for so long, and he was a void that Batman was like, I don't want to make the same mistakes again, and it's going to be a large looming presence in the story for sure. There's no way around it.
I know. I always thought like peak Batman would be to do like under the hood. Like
I think it'll
movie. Like I always thought that would be like a good thing to lead up to, because it just encompasses like all of just pretty much like what Batman means to the overall universe. And
yeah, it's Batman's trauma projected onto a character who he failed, who then he has to try and bring back towards the light.
It's the best arc for Batman. It brings out like Jason Todd, it brings out Batman, and it puts him in situations that he's never had to deal with before, and like the closest to ever having to deal with himself. And so I think that would be like a peak arc for any Batman in the cinematic universe. And I feel like if they're starting Batman with Damian, there's a chance they could do that.
I mean, I think there's this with starting with Damian, it's weird because you have so many possibilities, but also so many less possibilities. Because when you start with Damian, you can't have a Dick Grayson as a Robin. You can only have stories of it.
But that's fine. We'll be getting a Nightwing. That means
I'm fine with Dick Grayson being Nightwing.
Yeah. But it also means, what are they doing with Batgirl? Are they gonna skip the whole Killing Joke? Are they gonna include that? Is Batgirl gonna have the implant? What are they gonna?
I think doing a Killing Joke would not help anyone. I feel like.
I mean, but it's one of those things that became so iconic in Barbara's history. You have to include that at one point. She was paraplegic.
Yeah.
I don't know if they should do a Killing Joke.
Is Killing Joke prior to Damian Wayne in the story arcs? Or
yes. Killing Joke happens around the time of Tim Drake being Batman, I believe, was the time it's set in now. And then that's when Joker shoots her in the back and paralyzes her.
Right.
And just integral to Barbara's story, and I think it became a lot of who she was, and it showed that she's more than just Batgirl. She's the most intelligent member of the Bat family.
But we're also not entirely certain exactly how and the way the James and Peter Safran are going to structure this Batman, this version here.
That's the other thing. The age thing is what worries me the most about the structure. Because Superman's going to be, he says, early 20s. Batman would have to be probably around 35, which would mean he would have to have Damian around the time he was in his early 20s, which would mean he would have to fight Ra's al Ghul as Batman in his early 20s.
Yeah.
So that means year one, he was like 18.
That's what boggles my mind about this whole thing. It's like, how old was Bruce when he became Batman in this universe? If he's already gone through all of like the Ra's al Ghul, Neil Adams stuff to have that. And he's been through all of these Robins, but he has to be a close enough age to Superman to match the rest of the Justice League. That's what boggles my mind about the whole starting with Damian Wayne. But that's it.
How young is their Superman going to be? We don't know.
He said early 20s. He said mid 20s is what he's aiming for, that's a weird thing to have a mid 20s Superman and a Batman who's lived a whole life already.
I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of reasoning.
Typically there's a 2-year age gap, which explains just a few discrepancies in their stories to make things a little even. But this is
right? Batman, Superman needs a
huge age gap.
Superman needs to be able to stand in as Batman when he needs.
Well, it's also they need to be able to counter each other as opposing forces of the Justice League with each the same amount of knowledge.
Correct,
and I think if there's Batman has that much more experience, Superman's going to look like he has no authority in the Justice League. When he
look at the age gap between Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. I think you could kind of work something out, right?
But that's different. One of them's a super soldier.
I know, but still,
this is going to be Superman literally at age 25.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. Like Kryptonian.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's a lot of dynamics that you start to think of that happen in the comic books that we really like. And to kind of imagine that with what they've given us so far is kind of hard to wrap our heads around, especially if they're introducing the Damian Wayne, which
I just hope the
Batgirl later on in his life.
Yeah, that's very recent. That's the last 20 years. I just hope he treats the whole I mean, it sounds like he will. I think the Bat family has been very extended in the last couple of years, but I think he should at least honor up to the point of Damian being introduced of that whole team, because then it leaves other characters to be introduced in later movies.
Right.
But I think he needs to at least honor respect the Batgirl side of things. I mean, usually the Robins get all the attention, but people like Barbara Gordon, Stephanie Brown, and Cassandra Cain usually get left by the wayside, especially by DC.
Right.
And hopefully James Gunn's the one to rectify that, to really make the Bat family just not a brooding batch of men.
It's going to be weird just Batman being introduced as a full-fledged family man at this point.
I think we need that. The Bat Family is such an iconic thing. It's like,
yeah, it
I think
is.
it's weird
But
we
like
haven't
as
had
far
that.
as but in the cinema universe of the Batmans we're used to, he's this lone guy.
He's always been brooding alone and just
so it's
angry,
going to be
solving
kind of
everything with
jarring.
Alfred. And
it's going to be jarring to see like a cinematic Batman that has his whole family.
Yeah,
I think it's going to make him a lot more empathetic. I think it's going to be a different side of Batman where people are going to see.
And let's not forget, we still have Robert Pattinson's Batman. If we want that
separate,
solo brooding Batman fix,
we also have to should change that to just detective movies. Like instead of detective comics, just call Robert Pattinson stuff. Just a different.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I mean, they kind of already are, right?
Yeah. We also have to remember that Gunn and Safran have already sat there for like nearly 4 months discussing everything that we're probably questioning and asking, and have figured out something that's going to be a nice equal balance for
we trust them for sure.
Yeah,
I trust them right now.
We're just all speculating right now.
Oh no, totally. We're speculating.
Yeah, just the age thing. That's the only thing that really bothers.
They've been able to solidify and lock down at least beats
hope,
that they want
let's
to have.
Hope so. That's a lot of faith, Brent.
There was also rumors of Ben Affleck possibly directing the Brave and the Bold movie.
Yeah, which could be interesting too.
I mean, he did The Town.
I think Ben Affleck's a pretty serviceable director. I mean, I don't think he's directed any terrible movies.
Yeah.
What has he done recently? All I could think of is The Town.
The Accountant, I think he directed too.
Argo.
Yeah, he's an Oscar winner.
An Oscar for that.
That was a little while ago. That was a good 6-7 years ago, I think. But yeah,
he's the capability to make great movies.
Oh yeah, totally. Absolutely.
he helped I mean, he started his career with that.
Let's jump to Paradise Lost, Themyscira, a story based around the Themyscirians from years ago.
Is that what they're called? Themyscirians?
Themyscirians.
Sorry.
Themyscirians?
Sorry. Whatever. Yeah. Whatever. Wonder Woman's area. Themyscira?
What's the difference between Themyscirians and Amazons?
Amazons. Yeah.
I guess they would be Amazonians.
Amazonians.
Right?
Wait, they've been called both.
Oh, that's a mess.
I'm remembering this right. So they've been called. Okay. So there's a book series. There's a series called Amazon's Attack. So that they've been Amazonians. A Trial of the Amazons. They're Amazonians.
Yeah.
But when they're on the island, I could have sworn Hippolyta has been like Themyscirians. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's up, Themyscirians? Like, I don't know. I feel like she's definitely said that.
It sounds and feels
it's just
like
whatever you feel like at the moment.
But it could also that could mean it's also including people like Wonder Girl and people who weren't exclusively born on the island of Themyscira but are now citizens of Themyscira.
But here's the
Yara
thing:
Flor.
this sounds like it's not a current story. It sounds like it's something happened thousands of years ago, kind of story arc.
I have a theory. I have my own theory.
Bring it up.
So this is a pretty deep dive comic. There's a 4-arc comic arc released in 1988 called Paradise Island Lost. Was about Wonder Woman and Hippolyta kind of getting into an argument, and basically the culmination of that storyline was Hippolyta becoming her own Wonder Woman for the Justice Society. And I think
I'll do it myself.
Yeah, it was literally one of those moments, and it caused a rip between her and Diana. I think this is going to be Hippolyta's story. I think it's going to largely deal with
it's a mother-daughter conflict.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of an unseen conflict. I think they're going to dance around Wonder Woman. They're going to use a lot of Wonder Woman's comic supporting cast, and they're going to flesh out characters like I think they could use. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
They could use Donna Troy. They could use Artemis. They could use a newer character like Yara Flor. I mean, there's a lot of Wonder Woman characters who I think in any other leadership wouldn't get the proper due or even get shown. But I think James Gunn is smart enough to set up characters like Donna Troy to eventually do a Titans project.
Gotcha. So we're getting a bunch of new characters rather than our traditional, because we don't know that Wonder Woman is going to appear in this first.
No, we don't know. We just know it's Themyscira.
Yeah. What other areas? Let's see. Superman, Brave and the Bold, Supergirl.
Authority is definitely one worth mentioning.
So I don't know what the Authority is. Anything at all. Like I've never.
So Authority is going to be the only characters here who technically didn't originate in DC Comics. They're from Jim Lee's Wildstorm universe originally, and then got integrated into DC Comics when when Jim Lee just joined up with became a publisher.
Right.
But they're basically a super team that don't do small stuff. They're not going to show up if a cat's trapped in a tree. They're going to show up if the whole planet is being taken over by an intergalactic race, and they're going to mess them up. It's a little controversial to do. I think a little controversial to do them right now. The creator Warren Ellis got caught up in some pretty nasty allegations that he kind of confirmed himself that he's been an abuser in the past.
Right. Okay.
So it's a little weird to do them right now. But they're basically just a take no shit team of just kind of. I don't know how well it's gonna do.
Like cosmic proportions, kind of.
Yeah, they'll fight cosmic proportions of the intergalactic foes, planet-ending threats.
Are they originally from? They're not from Earth, then, obviously.
No, some of them are.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, some of them are.
You have them and Green Lantern Corps, like just governing the universe from baddies.
I think the big. I think they're going to stay planetary in their first outing. Probably stay on Earth for a while, maybe indefinitely. I think the big thing they're going to highlight is the relationship between Apollo and Midnighter, two characters who they're now in a relationship and are lovers together. And I think that's going to be the key focal point, is the love story between them in the movie.
Right.
That sounds fun. That's going to be a movie, Brent?
It's going to be a movie.
Yeah, that's going to be a movie. The Authority.
I think it's going to also it's going to try and eat the tide of the Justice League's not there right now. We need some team.
You want an existing team that's already established.
I just think Authority doesn't have the coolest characters.
You think like the Old Guard kind of?
No,
thing?
Old Guard is something way different.
No, Old Guard, like as in they.
Old Guard. Yeah. I think
the Old Guards before we move on to the superheroes of the.
Yeah, I think there'll be a little bit of that. Yeah. I just think it's such a weird thing to start out with. They don't have the coolest characters. They really don't. They have Apollo and Midnighter and Jenny Sparks.
Right.
And that's their cool
we
people.
We know James Gunn's famous for taking B
characters.
One of their characters are literally called like Doctor and Engineer. Like it's such like some of the characters would just have so little thought into them.
Right. I feel like that's the beauty of it, right? Like if you're reliant on IP, and if you could take this and make it great, I think there's fun in that for like a writer or a movie maker.
Yeah, I think there'll be someone to. They have two good characters, and then the rest are going to have to, make their own. I think Jack Hawksmoor, they're all pretty defined characters. Like there's a guy, Jack Hawksmoor, who just wears a suit. Like, and it's going to be so jarring for people to see this guy in a suit in a superhero movie, just punching people in the face, and it's just, oh, he's strong, I guess. His powers are pretty ill-defined.
That's the exciting part of it, though. Like he's establishing a DC universe where most things can happen at this point,
Yeah.
With like this, looking at this lineup, you're guaranteed that it's not going to be as grounded as we're used to.
Yeah.
Because we've got monsters, we've got all types of like weird stuff happening, and that means that opens up the gates for all the weird DC stuff that exists in the comics.
Yeah. Well, Anchorman, you can find Dark Web at any comic book store. Spider-Man is technically dead in the other Spider-Man series, Spider-Man by Dan Slott. This is part of Uncanny Spider-Man, or not Uncanny, but Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know why I said Uncanny. Zeb Wells' run. There's a bunch of tie-ins for it. There's Venom tie-ins, Ms. Marvel tie-ins, X-Men tie-ins, but you can read most of it in the Amazing Spider-Man series by Zeb Wells. And this is the finale that just ended this week.
So jumping back, let's talk a little bit about the Swamp Thing movie. They did a series recently on which is, it seems to be huge. I'm not really. I tried to watch at least the pilot episode of the series for Swamp Thing.
Well,
I didn't get into it.
Alan Moore's run that brought Swamp Thing back into the lexicon. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Swamp Thing. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing is like. It's like a writer's dream adaptation because it's just so dense and beautifully written and poetic, and it's got such large dramatic themes in it. Yeah. And it's just like a step above what other people were doing with superheroes and kind of comics books
good
as a
stuff,
whole
like
at that time.
conceptually on like our relationship with the plant universe too. You know, like
Yeah.
how plants work in the world. I
These
feel I
guys
have
were so-
friends who are obsessed with Swamp Thing who aren't into comic books at all, but because they came across Alan Moore's run of the Swamp Thing.
Right. Well, James Mangold kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and he kind of posted an image of Swamp Thing, which was kind of
Jump
interesting.
the James gun.
He
Throwing
jumped,
his
the,
hand.
he jumped the James gun.
He's throwing his hat into the
So
ring.
now everybody's asking: Is James Mangold going to be talking with James Gunn and DC to direct a? You know, I didn't necessarily expect Swamp Thing to be his kind of film. I don't know. You know, he did do Logan, of course, which I loved. With Max, we know you didn't particularly get into Logan as much.
I love Logan as a film. I think
Right.
it's done amazingly. My biggest problem is with the lore. I mean, you couldn't think of a better villain than Wolverine versus himself, like, or the Reavers and Donald Pierce. Like, I just think my problem with that movie is he felt like he didn't know Wolverine lore well enough to actually put any good Wolverine villains or beats into the movie.
Fair enough.
Because like in the comic is just like an all-star cast.
Oh my god, it's the Marvel universe. I mean, he couldn't do that, but but he had the ability to replace all those characters. Like, you don't need to use Hulk when you could do something like have Juggernaut control part of Canada or something like that. Like, he could have done so much interesting conceptual things with X-Men characters and X-Men lore, and he threw all of that out the window because he said, you know, it'd be cool, Wolverine punching people in the face.
Just wasn't enough time, man.
I don't think that was the issue. I mean, he spent so long in Professor X killing the X-Men, which I think was so dumb. That was also like, it ruined the point of it to have that be on Logan. That's Logan's fault. That's what the blame is. Logan destroyed basically the Marvel universe at that point. He let the villains win, and that's what he had to live with because he's the only person who can live through that. And I just think he didn't understand large aspects of what made Old Man Logan special. I'm really hoping he doesn't do the same thing with Swamp Thing. And
well, we don't know if he's officially attached.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he does get it,
you know, but it'd be interesting to see what he does with it. I guess. Again, it's like
But if it's just Logan again, just get that Johnny Cash on the trailer.
Fair enough.
I mean, I think his cinematography would work really well because his style of cinematography is very realistic, visceral, like with Ford vs. Ferrari, which is a great movie. But
absolutely,
I think it would work well with Swamp Thing, but it's all about can he understand the material enough to deliver that into a 2-hour movie.
Fair enough.
Because there's such large concepts. You have to explain stuff like the green and the red and the way it interacts with the universe and how Swamp Thing became Swamp Thing and his relationship with,
I think that's the important thing to be focusing on, especially if they want to make this like a franchise. Like, you got to establish his relationships with like just his existence and stuff like that. And
it's very interesting.
That would be the main focus of the first movie of Swamp Thing,
I think it'd be one of those movies where you need to have that dialogue over it, where he needs to have that internal monologue where he's kind of just talking over the film, telling you how he feels in an introspective way. I think it's the only way to really sell Swamp Thing. Other than that, he's just a big green guy. You don't know what he's thinking. Like, is he good? Is he bad?
It's an internal story, if anything.
Exactly, it's such an internal story.
Very internalized, and if it's going to be hard to go outside of that, if from just people observing him, like it needs to be contained with him going through a personal journey if they want this to work.
And in a voice being spoken is what you're saying.
In the first, like the first Dune,
or the new Batman movie, how they had Robert Pattinson kind of giving a monologue. I think that is the stylization you need for Swamp Thing.
See, that was what surprised me, was that whole opening monologue, which lasted for like 20 minutes or so for me. I really liked and needed that to feel.
That's how comic books
different.
work, though. That's why it works
so well. Yeah.
And in the genre of like a noir detective, like that's just how it is.
That's how a lot of comic books are written nowadays. People tend to write these big dialogue things in captions or in like
emotion.
That's how you portray the blocks in the corners and stuff,
Well, they used to be like in the 60s and 70s were reserved for like actions, like and he threw a wild screaming punch or something like that. But now you get internal monologues over it. Where you get to really get into the characters.
More modern.
You get into the characters' mind
by
while the
noir.
plot. Yeah, it
inspired
allows
by
an A
noir
plot and a B
films,
plot to
right?
happen, simultaneously, while only one physical plot is happening. You have a metaphysical plot happening with the character and their journey around them, and I think that's what these comic movies are missing, is why they seem so flat all the time, because you don't get the characters' internal journeys.
For sure, yeah.
Yes, my context is like Punisher War Journal.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Like it's just his journal, but then you're seeing him go through the actions, which I feel like that would be great if they did a Punisher like that.
Yeah, they need a Garth Ennis style Punisher movie.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Let's on that at least. Okay, Creature Commandos animated series.
Yeah, this is. I think this is going to be more aimed towards kids. I think this is going to be something a little, just off the beaten path, just to kind of keep the DC name around for a younger generation. Because this is characters.
Is it going to be kids, or is it going to be like Invincible?
I really fundamentally think this could be a kids project. I don't know why. I just think adults. It's not something to care about, to be honest. They're such D-list characters that
it's like just famous monsters.
Not even. It's like, no-name monsters. I mean, there was a group that they were associated with that had Frankenstein with them, but Frankenstein isn't a part of the Creature Commandos. Maybe James Gunn will change that.
But I mean, these are monsters that are already established that we know of, right? Like
kind
werewolves.
of. They have
like
stuff
a League of
that.
Extraordinary Gentlemen, and like kind
of. They have their own twist on the characters a little bit.
Yeah,
but
they're familiar entities, but we're seeing them work together, which it's a concept that I'll always like.
Well, the one thing that Gunn did say in his little 5-minute monologue was that they are going to be looking to try to get the actors to be the voice actors of anything animated and be in the live action. And we've also seen in the past that sometimes that doesn't always work. Sometimes an amazing actor is not a great voice actor.
Or a voice actor is not, or vice versa.
Or vice versa, exactly, yeah.
It's rare that it ever works. I was thinking about this the other day. You rarely ever see that. You have like one person from Last of Us who reprised their role as a character,
right?
But like, I guess we got Bo-Katan. I can't think of anyone else.
She's already an established actor. I think she did screen stuff before voice stuff.
Yeah,
she reprised her role as Bo-Katan, and that's rare. I don't think that it rarely ever happens.
Well, it rarely happens. It's more like it rarely works. Sometimes, I mean,
I can't think of any more where it actually happened.
I don't know.
Let alone work.
Video games, that happens a lot, and it's usually pretty lackluster.
Yeah, that is changing.
And that's what the video game. There's a lot of pushback from Warner Brother Games. Developers were kind of tweeting out saying this is a terrible idea. You'll never get a voice actor as good as Tara Strong. It was a lot of stuff like that, but they kind of have a point where if you try and get your A-list actors to do a video game, they're just going to not give a great performance.
That's a huge commitment too, right? Because that's years in development sometimes, and those actors.
Like how are these contracts going to work too? It's going to be
different. Yeah. It's a different art form, It's like grabbing a painter to make a sculpture.
I can see James Gunn shifting away from that.
Yeah, but
Marvel Studios tried to do that with what was that show? What If? And it didn't always work. They had some people didn't come back, some people did come back. Some of the voices
just obligated. If they're available, there's an obligation to use them.
I think it's going to be a lot like that. I don't think it's going to be all the voices are going to be 1-to-1, but I think it's going to be if they're available, they're going to do it.
Just it depends on their capacity of what they're going to be using them on screen. That way, if they're just going to show up as a cameo, then you could get away with a voice actor being that for the cast of the cartoon. But it depends. Like if you're going to have them carry a whole movie, you're going to want someone who can act and just train them to have a better voice.
Sure. Yeah.
Because if you're to, I think it would be easier to train an actor to be a voice actor.
Well, most actors do some amount of ADR on their movies.
Yeah. Right. And so I feel like other than getting like someone who's primarily a voice actor to do live action, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see on that. What else have we got going on there? Creature Commandos, Waller TV show.
Oh, so Brent, theories, and we're still getting. Brent's got big theories.
I got big theories too. Brent, what are yours?
So It seems like he has kind of officially announced that, and I completely should have got her name. The actress who played Amanda Waller
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. She apparently is still being pegged to be continuing as the character role of Amanda Waller. We assume that somehow the Peacemaker group somehow survive into this thing. I have a really wild theory. It's probably stupid to kind of say it right now, but it's like I feel like that Amanda Waller might become like the evil Nick Fury of this world, where she somehow survives Flashpoint with a team of people and ends up by basically being aware of what the parallel world was that she came from into this new world. I don't know. It'd be a cool kind of area to kind of explore, to see through her eyes that we would be seeing what? Yes, Jason. Yeah, I don't know.
I was walking by a house and I was
we'll see. We'll see.
How much it was going.
Yeah, I mean, she already is a Nick, like an evil Nick Fury type.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
she'll
don't mean
remember
evil in the sense of evil. She's just got
no, she's very much an evil Nick Fury type.
Okay.
That is her whole MO is her utilizing government assets for her own gain and kind of shaping the world around her the way she sees fit.
Every portrayal I've seen of her, she's been pretty evil.
She's usually pretty. I would say morally ambiguous, but I always say she's evil because she's never done anything. She's done good things, but never in a good way. She's never altruistic.
But she also has means and resources that could actually end up by protecting her current mental position.
No, there's no way.
Self-preservation.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
There's absolutely no way to survive a flashpoint and remember everything unless you are inside the flashpoint time stream.
Correct, exactly.
Even if you have the craziest vault,
that would
it would be
cool.
rewritten over that you would never be in that vault. It wouldn't. It would restart the universe from the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Of all people, Amanda Waller to be that.
No, she's not doing that. It just doesn't make sense.
That is the big multi-million-dollar question of the day is of the whole run is how are we going to get existing actors and characters that James decides he wants to keep?
That's the beauty of the multiverse.
That's the beauty of the multiverse.
Right.
You
but
could
at
have
different ages at different levels of.
No, you could have like the same person, and it's the new version of them. It's a multiverse.
But they're just an older version of the person.
I think he's keeping some actors. I think honestly, he's keeping a lot of the actors based on good faith of people he's worked with. And promised jobs
absolutely.
In the
he said that. He's always said that. That would be a given. But I'm curious to see how they're integrated into this new world.
I just think they'll just show up. I think it'll be possibly new versions, possibly the similar traits. I think he'll just peg it up to he promised these people roles and he's going to deliver on them. He's not going to be a liar now that he has the ability to give them roles.
Yeah. The chain of events kind of just led to those same group of people.
I think
different Batman,
they were just born at different era ages.
I think it's
a multiverse.
Show, I mean, I think Waller show it's not going to answer questions from Peacemaker season 1, but I think it's going to integrate a storyline like the Checkmate storyline where Amanda Waller was employing characters like Vigilante and Peacemaker for her own gain.
So tell us about Checkmates, because this is not on the list, but this is.
Checkmate I think is going to be the secret. I think that's what they're going to call the Waller show. It's not going to be called Waller. It's going to be called Checkmate.
All right. Which is exactly what?
It's a government organization. It's kind of like Task Force. It's a division of Task Force X, but it's also much more aligned with the government and doing slightly less deniable ops based on super stuff, but more shaping the world via shadow government stuff.
Okay.
And she employed characters like Peacemaker and Vigilante. And I think Judo Master was there too. And it was Vixen was there. And there was a lot of it was like Task Force X, but way more official and way more legit and less dicking around. And I think this is going to be that whole Waller story that he's doing. And he'll be able to keep all of his former players, John Osmosis, I can't remember his last name, and his wife's character and all those people, but integrate them into a new story that will be slightly more bigger ramifications on the rest of the DCU than he had for Peacemaker season 2. Now I could think so much bigger. He could actually make some big swings in the universe without it just being a small contained story.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, that's the fact it's a TV series means he's going to have time to play with that too. And as you said, this might be very well Peacemaker season 2 to a certain degree. You feel or
no, I think it will be. I think it will be the spiritual successor. I think Peacemaker won't ever have a traditional season 2, even if it does get a new Peacemaker show. I think it'll be technically a new season 1.
Gotcha.
But I think this will be the spiritual successor and have all of the main cast in the same similar vibe,
right?
But just a much bigger, broader story of. I think it'll also be more focused on Waller rather than Peacemaker, obviously.
Okay.
But
yeah, for sure, makes sense. Then we've got Lanterns, the TV show.
I hate this title for Green Lanterns. I really do.
Fair enough.
Lanterns? It's just not.
Well, I mean, again, as you said, it could change, but
yeah, I think it's a placeholder title.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think anything's locked concrete as final titles in any of these, but
they could have called it like Green Lantern Emerald Knights. I think that would have been a good title for it.
Yeah. Now we are getting we don't know we don't know too much about it except for the fact we probably might be getting Hal Jordan.
No, he's confirmed it. There was official art. There was official art. He confirmed Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and he said a slew of other Lanterns.
Okay, cool.
I think if James Gunn has any part in it, we'll get a lot of Lanterns. I think it won't. I think we'll get it'll be the home base. We'll have probably Terran missions on Earth and stuff like that. But I feel like it's going to start on Earth, which is why we'll have John Stewart and Hal Jordan together. There'll be a mystery on Earth that will surround the deeper mystery. It might even be kind of like a Final Crisis style. Yeah. Maybe like a new god is murdered or something like that, and they have to investigate. It leads them all across the galaxy.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see a live-action John Stewart in the TV series kind of thing. And I mean, on top of it, it's like compared to what we've had before from the Green Lantern movie, which really most people kind of just ditched it, and quite deservingly, it wasn't a great film at all. It'd be nice to see
Green Lantern.
You didn't like it?
I'll still defend that movie. It had some good elements in it.
Yeah, but it was. I just feel like it'll be nice to get back to Earth.
Jeffrey Rush as Tomar Ray is one of the best casting ever.
What about Kilowog? Kilowog was great.
All like the core was like casted great.
Yeah.
Oh, and Sinestro. Oh, Sinestro was perfectly cast.
Mark Strong as Sinestro. Like the casting was beautiful.
The story was terrible though.
I'm just talking about the casting.
Yeah, the story wasn't that terrible. It was pretty bland. It was pretty. Honestly, it's very middle of the line for especially what Marvel Studios puts out. It's very middle of the line of that.
What sucks is that it followed Iron Man.
I mean, it had to live up to the Spider-Man movies and then the recent Iron Man movies, and it just.
Yeah.
I think if it came out 5 years later, people would have been like, "Yeah, it was pretty good. I'd see a sequel."
Yeah.
If it came out 5 years later, they would have changed a lot of things about it. But
I mean, it
came out at a time when it was like still trying to get their footing as far as what makes a good superhero movie.
It came out prior to Superman: Man of Steel. It was technically the first in that new.
But I love that
Man
James
of Steel created the Snyderverse at that point. That
it had a young Taika Waititi in it.
Yeah, it did. I love that this show is going to have no origin story. I think that Guggenheim show would have been a mess. The Mark Guggenheim Green Lantern TV show that he was working on for a while. That sounded like it's trying to incorporate Green Lanterns who aren't even Green Lanterns, like Alan Scott, who just is whose name is the Green Lantern but isn't actually part of the Lantern Corps. He was trying to just incorporate every Lantern he could think of, like Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, and just literally give everyone their own stories. And that would sound like that's not how you do that.
That's where you want to develop those characters down the track, and it seems like because we're only dealing with two main Earth-based characters.
I think we will get Guy Gardner on the side, and maybe a Kyle Rayner will show up.
But in season 1, if this is a series,
sure. I think Guy Gardner will be there episode 1 as an annoying presence in the background, telling Hal Jordan he's wrong.
Okay, fair enough. We'll see. I don't know too much about the later characters beyond those.
But he can compare it to like a True Detective.
Yeah.
Kind of
you
show.
compare it to True Detective. I think it'll be a lot of at the heart of it, they're space cops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's what they need to be.
I like that. That's exciting. And it's coming. Is this chronological on with the release dates? This list?
No,
there's no actual release dates.
No release dates.
His orders was just on the top row was movies, and on the bottom row was TV shows.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the order of what is yet.
Yeah. We talked about Paradise Lost, but the last one on the list really is Booster Gold TV show.
This one is just James Gold deciding I have the power and saying yes. I could greenlight this Booster Gold movie.
I feel like this is like a project that he's always wanted to do, like forever.
Could be.
He's such a fan favorite character. He's like,
and being like James Gunn.
That's what people love about him.
And James Gunn, like his main forte is just playing with like the emotions of superheroes in that genre.
I think he'll do something special.
Thing for him.
Booster Gold's the perfect character for him. He's a character who's so like. He's more the character himself he's a moronic wannabe. He steals a bunch of tech. He goes back to the past and tries to convince everyone that he's a superhero, and he ends up on the Justice League. Like this man fails upwards and cracks jokes the whole time. But he also has a serious when he's written right. He has a serious sadness about who he is behind him of self-doubt and struggles with his own self-worth. And I think that's what James Gunn is going to be the best.
That's what,
my
that's where he's going to shine.
Into Booster Gold, because I knew nothing about him before the Justice League animated series, or Justice League Unlimited, I think it was. I enjoyed the character from that. We actually saw Booster Gold pop up right at the end of Legends of Tomorrow.
Played by Donald Faison.
Yeah, I know. Of all places. And they did this really cool twist. We didn't know too much about that character. We thought he was going to be somebody else. And when they announced him in the season finale, which was the series finale, unfortunately, as Booster Gold, I was like, this could be interesting. I actually like that. And then the show got cancelled. So it's like,
isn't he like a live action? Isn't there another live action Booster Gold in one of like the CW shows or something?
Oh, I think they did. I didn't watch Smallville, but I think they might have done it in Smallville.
Maybe.
I didn't
watch
it,
you're the Smallville guy. Come on, man.
Well, it's been a while since I've watched Smallville, but
I think Blue Beetle will show up in the Booster Gold movie TV show. I mean, they're best friends in the comics. Probably the most iconic thing about Booster Gold right now is his relationship with Blue Beetle, just as a friendship. That just when you put those two characters together, it's like two morons just having a blast, cracking jokes, and just not taking anything seriously, which is the fun of like their
kind of like
sounds like that's where it's going with.
Like
it's like Deadpool and Spidey, but if they actually got along.
That's cool. I like that.
And I think there's another Blue Beetle movie coming out with Jaime, the second Blue Beetle, or technically third Blue Beetle, I think. But in that movie, supposedly Ted Kord, the original Blue Beetle, is gone. And I think James Gunn probably said, I can keep them both canon. I could just have Ted Kord be on adventure with Blue Beetle.
That team up does make sense, because it's like two regular dudes with immense like superpowers through tech. And then they're kind of just
Beetle, that's his whole thing. Is he has immense money, and he made Beetle themed stuff for basically no other reason than he thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Ridiculous but fun. Like I
like that. It's just like a kid and a alien tech, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, that's Jaime. Jaime has all the alien tech and stuff like that.
Booster Gold is just a dude with future tech. And so it's like two guys kind of just imposter syndrome.
I mean, I think this could be leading to maybe JLI, Justice League International, See, that's a more friendly, fun version of the Justice League.
The beauty of what he's announced as like for his new DC run right now. It's like there's so much potential to like branch off and do all types of stuff. This is what Warner Brothers needed to do from the get-go.
He sets up Justice League Dark, Justice League International, Bat Family, Super Family.
By doing all of this, teaming up with a Justice League is not that crazy anymore. We got like a whole group of monsters. We got like an intergalactic team. We have like space cops. Like it's gonna be,
and we still got our three core characters, which is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Which is like
Wonder Woman. I don't think he's gonna be there. I think Wonder Woman's gonna be subtly replaced with Green Lantern. Maybe Green Lantern in a wig, maybe light construct. We'll see.
We'll see.
Like what you said, Max. We're eating good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be only the start. I think in these movies, I think we're going to get characters we're not even thinking about yet.
Yeah. I mean, like half of this are characters I wasn't even thinking about. Like this list.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's not what I would have put first. I would have definitely thrown
the
in
creatures, like
creature commanders.
authority.
But the
fact
fact
that had no idea, weren't even on my radar.
But the fact that book 1 is technically called Gods and Monsters is an interesting starting point too. I want to know what book 2 was going to be. I want to know what book 3 is going to be. We're going to get all these instead of calling them, the same way that Marvel called them with phase 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. They shouldn't have to rely on what Marvel's doing anyway.
Well, I think it's interesting that they're already doing bigger, broader themes than Marvel does. Marvel's themes are like, we have this guy Kang. I guess he's gonna be the whole quantum saga.
Yeah.
So it's like they're so big and broad, but they're also very singular in their thing.
What they're just picking up where Marvel started, Marvel established that superheroes and IP can be used, and we could establish this whole superhero universe, and it could go crazy. DC, James Gunn's just picking up and saying that, let's just establish a crazy universe.
Well, to start to wrap it up, it's been going for a bit, but James has delivered so far already. He's delivered in the reference of, he said by the end of January he's going to drop information, and
he did it.
The thing,
the last day of January,
and he did. That's fine.
He's
as
doing
as long as they do it right and they have time to develop this stuff properly, I think he's going to keep on doing it.
He's doing his job and keeping us happy.
That's it. Yeah,
he's also sold a lot
that's
of
what
comics.
they're paying him for.
And he just sold a lot of comics through that
That's
whole
what
process. He sold them out.
Say.
And it's like,
I was thinking when Civil War was happening. I remember going into comic book stores and seeing they had racks of Civil War and all the tie-ins and all the trade paperbacks all on sale, and no one was buying it. No one cared whatsoever because it wasn't. Marvel said, "This is not an adaptation. We're just using the title for a similar story." And that screwed them over because they didn't sell any books. Now James Gunn is like, I'm adapting this Tom King story. Everyone
and you should read this. I think that's very smart. It's incredible.
Brilliant. Great synergy. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think we'll end this podcast at this point. We've talked enough about this for the moment. There's going to be obviously a lot more to talk about in the coming years of all of this. It's going to be kind of fun to see what these guys do. Everybody out there in chat who joined us today, thank you so much. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe if you got this far into the podcast and you could tolerate us talking about fun stuff that we enjoyed talking about. And thank you, Max. Thanks you, Jason. And we shall catch you all on the flip side.
Is that your new?
No, not really.
On the flip side.
No, the flip side. Well, the thing is, I've got some upcoming projects that are going to be possibly taking my Sundays for the next 2 weeks. So we may not be live in the next 2 weeks. But
I mean, I'm still on every Wednesday. So
Jason's on. We sit and chat there on Wednesday evenings on Jason's Twitch channel. So you can find that below as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We shall catch you all later.
So, name the system.